Good morning. Barry Bryson here, thanking you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. We're continuing our study of the Ten Commandments, and we're looking at what is, by the Jewish reckoning, the fourth command: remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. And so I'm going to be reading from Exodus chapter 20, verses 8 through 11. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. But the seventh day is a Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall not do any work, you or your son or your daughter, your male or female servant, or your cattle, or the stranger, the sojourner who stays with you. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth and the sea and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. Of the Ten Commandments, keeping the Sabbath is the one in the New Testament that is not directly enumerated as something we need to do. All the others are just word for word nearly repeated, but not keeping the Sabbath day holy. The Sabbath day is the seventh day, but the word Sabbath doesn't mean seven, although it is a homonym of the word seven, Shiva and Shabbat. Seven is Shiva, and Shabbat to stop. The word literally means to cease. Psalm 46, verse 10, stop and know that I am God. Be still. Just stop. And it doesn't even technically mean a rest. It means to stop. God did not rest on the seventh day, come to stop moving, to stop what he was doing, his activity on the seventh day, because he was all tuckered out. That's anthropomorphizing God. He just did. He stopped and provided a pause. And that pause, that seventh day, because 7 is the number of completion, without that pause, creation would not be complete. And so, really, it's important for us to consider why that pause, that stoppage is necessary, why it's important. But it is, and it still is. We're not called to do it on the seventh day. And how do we reckon days, months, and years? Each culture does it differently. There are lunar calendars and solar calendars. So it's really impossible for us to be, who are not Jews and are not bound by the Mosaic Law and the lunar calendar of the Mosaic Law, to bind this the way it was bound upon the Jews. But the notion of stopping, the Jews found a hard time keeping this law all the way up through Malachi. The prophets talk all the time about, you violate my Sabbaths, you violate my Sabbaths. In the suffering servant passage, right at the end, immediately following the suffering servant, the long suffering servant passage in Isaiah 58 verses 13 and 14, God calls them to keep his Sabbaths, to respect the time that they need to stop. I mean, that's exactly what's being evoked in Psalm 46:10. Just stop. And it's the thing that Jesus is talking about when he talks about prayer in Matthew 6. Enter into your closet. Spend time in secret with God. You have to have a private relationship with God. You have to make time for God. God is the sovereign of your time. And he commands that you stop, that you make time to stop, and you spend that time with him. And the giving of the law in Deuteronomy 5 even expands. Moses goes into greater detail, talking about, listen, you're not going to make your servants work that day, your children work that day. You're going to let your animals have a day of stoppage, a day of rest. We know how important it is physiologically for living things to have time of rest. Sleep deprivation and having no time of reset, of rest, will destroy our health. We understand that. That's because God made us this way. But the stopping itself is meaningful to God, and should be meaningful to us, and it should be focused, the time of stoppage itself should be focused on God himself. That's clear in the New Testament. But, saying, oh, it's Sunday afternoon, I can't mow my grass, is not what God had in mind. But never turning off our screens, never, taking time away from either work or play to contemplate, to think, to pray. Yes, God takes that very seriously. Jesus says in the Sermon on the Mount, enter into your closet and pray to God. Establish your private relationship with God. And that command in Psalm 46:10 exists to this day. Be still. Just stop and know that I am God. Okay. Next time we'll talk about the first commandment with the promise to honor our father and our mother. That is an absolute command and not modified in any way. And we'll talk more about that next time. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word.